If you're a Warriors fan, that was way too close for comfort. Sloppy play, sloppy result, but they come away with a victory in the Big Easy, a.k.a. New Orleans, one of my favorite cities in the world. It sure did look like the Warriors enjoyed maybe one too many cocktails, maybe one too many beignets, but they come away victorious. They clinch a home quarterfinal game. Let's break down the Golden State Warriors, the Western Conference leading confused myself there. The Western Conference leading Golden State Warriors. They win again. Let's break down what went right. A few things went wrong, but a win's a win, and they continue on this successful start to the season. Let's get into it. This is the Golden Days.
We always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Woo! Let's go!
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got
Welcome to the Golden Days. I am your host, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. I'm over on Twitter at Surf Journalist, and the program is on all social media platforms at Golden Days Pod. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, a 112-108 final, a game that was way closer than it should have been, a game that the Warriors nearly blew at the very end. We'll get into what I mean by that in just a moment. But look, a win is a win. The Warriors improve to 12-3 on the year. They stay atop the Western Conference thanks to a tough win against a Pelicans team that was decimated by injury entering tonight's matchup. And so the players that were on the court, they were playing hard. I like to call individuals like that who are pesky, who are annoying, who are giving it their all, even though we all know what's going to happen at the end. Those people are called tryhards, folks. And tryhards can be annoying. If they're on your side of the coin that you're rooting for, you love it. You want tryhards on your team. If they're on the other side of the coin, they make you feel like the Warriors felt tonight. And I'm sure if you're a member of Dub Nation, you felt similar. You weren't calm. You weren't relaxed. This was a close, annoying game from beginning to end. But again, the Warriors do come away victorious. Their third win of the season against the New Orleans Pelicans. They improved to 3-0 in NBA Cup play. They clinch a home game in the quarterfinals with this win, which I believe they also clinched the group in general. Side note, with the NBA Cup, my personal wish to make this product better. Jesus, I got to get a haircut. Jeez, look at this thing, man. Instead of this group play crap, instead of like using a draw to put certain teams in certain groups, just use divisions. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. It is a very basic marketing tactic. Simple is good. And when it comes to the NBA Cup, the in-season tournament, just make the groups based on the division. Have it Warriors, Suns, Lakers, Clippers, Kings. That's your group. Not Grizzlies, Pelicans, Nuggets, whoever else is in there. But whatever, regardless. The Warriors so far are 3-0 in Cup play. I'm going to get to the comments in just a moment as well. I'm sure the chat is lighting it up right now. Alan Day, for example, bringing up in the chat that Kerr, the defensive substitutions at the end there, I thought it was a little much. Just my personal opinion on that. This is what I don't get. And this is the only positive thing I'm going to say about Jonathan Kaminga tonight, because I thought he had an awful game. This was a piss poor performance on his part. This was a piss poor effort. It was awful. This was not a good game. You're not going to hear me say good things about Kaminga when he plays like this. But the Warriors did have a good thing going in terms of Kaminga being part of the closing lineup. When Kaminga and Podziemski saved the day in that Warriors-Rockets game, where a game they blew a 30-plus point lead. That game went to overtime. Kaminga did save the night that evening, in case you forgot. And the Warriors won that game, and Kaminga had cemented himself as part of the closing five. And when you think of the closing five, it's obviously Steph. It's obviously Draymond. It's obviously Andrew Wiggins, who I will give a lot of love to on tonight's show because the Warriors don't win this game without him, plain and simple. But the other two are pretty much open. I mean, Buddy Hield seems to make sense as the fourth closer on this team. And I thought Kaminga had cemented his spot as the fifth closer. And then 3 games ago, the Warriors lose to the Clippers. I don't think it was a coincidence that Kaminga was not in the closing lineup for that game. Then thankfully, the last outing, they took care of business from beginning to end, so it didn't really matter. But a game like tonight, his length I thought would have been appreciated. And I think for his psyche, for a young player like Kaminga, who is still the second youngest player on this team. Brandon Podziemski is the only one younger. Those two are both, Kaminga recently turned 22. Podziemski will turn 22, I believe, in February. But for young players still trying to figure things out, you would think that from the coaching staff's perspective, having Kaminga in this defined role, considering he's coming off the bench, would be good for him. It would give him some sort of routine, and professional athletes, on top of most human beings, are creatures of routine. And I don't understand what happened where Steve Kerr just decided, I'm just going to keep this an open competition. I'm just going to keep this a fluid scenario at the end of each game where I don't know who I'm going to play. It's just a hot hand. I don't know if I like that part of it. And we saw this flurry of substitutions at the end of the game where you had Wiggins, you had Dre, you had Steph. But then 1 minute it was Buddy Hield out there. 1 minute it was Brandon Podziemski out there. 1 minute it was Trace Jackson Davis out there. 1 minute it was I mentioned Podziemski. Moses Moody was playing some minutes at the end there, and it was a cluster F bomb. I don't understand that part of it in terms of the mass substitutions. Gary Payne II was also out there at the end of the game as well, constantly going in and out. Kaminga's a good enough defender. His length. He's getting to a point where you can trust him for the most part. I don't get him not closing games. I thought he had solidified his role, at least in that respect, but apparently he didn't. The end of the game was sketchy as all hell. The Warriors' free throw issues continue, but despite all that, they do win, and they improved to 3-0 in group play. They improved to 12-3 on the season. And Kaminga, with the exception of what I just said, where I thought he should finish games, did not have a good night. I agree with what Richard Jefferson was saying early in the game, and it wasn't just Kaminga. I mean, there were a lot of players on the Warriors tonight that just had an off night, but there was a point in the game where this was early, and I think this was when Kaminga first came into the game, where he committed a pass, right? Just made a basic pass, and then he just stood there. And that's not Warriors basketball. Like, motion is the name of the game for this offense. Keeping the defense on their heels is a staple of this offense. The reason why movement, why motion is so welcomed, and why it's so dangerous, and why Steve Kerr's offensive system is so lethal is because of that movement. Because when you're moving, a defense cannot be set, and you're causing chaos, you're causing confusion. The endless screens that are an iteration of a Ted Winters triangle offense is just putting the defense on their heels. And when you have the defense on their heels and you're being unpredictable offensively, the defense is going to pay a price for that. But Kaminga was just standing there for a lot of this game. He's got to stop doing that. And I don't know if he was in his head. I don't know if he's got ADHD where he spaces out here and there. And I say this because I got ADHD, so I get it. But the point is, kid, move. You got to keep moving. Him just standing there like that, unacceptable. And he did not have a good night. Now, with that said, certain players did have a good night. And I want to give some love to them in just a second. But I just wanted to just remind folks, I try to be objective on this program. I'm not a Kaminga stan. This was not a good night for him, period. By the way, Benjamin Clift, Golden Dazer, welcome to the party. Thank you for subscribing. And again, a perk of being a subscriber is I will look at your chats if you make them. They get highlighted automatically, or you can drop an extra $4.99 so Carson Taylor can get some love in the chat. Carson is criticizing Andrew Wiggins. I was about to start the show by giving him props after ripping Kaminga. Carson is writing in the chat as Andrew Wiggins' biggest critic. Okay, I see where you're going with this. You're writing, you got to give him credit. He has been on fire the last 3 games. Why the F was Podziemski in the closing lineup? Send him to the G League. Yeah, Podziemski, the shooting woes for him continues. He fortunately had a clutch rebound late in the game. His mid-range seems to be okay, but the three-point shot is virtually non-existent. We'll talk about it in just a moment, but let's start with Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is back. There is no more ifs, ands, or buts. The 2022 version of Andrew Wiggins is here. And that is about as good of a piece of news that if you consider yourself a member of Dub Nation, this is particularly geared toward you, you should be ecstatic. Andrew Wiggins looks like the player that we saw in 2022, especially in the postseason, not just the All-Star version, but the one who in the postseason was an unstoppable force. That dude is back. Anonymous in the chat saying that Wiggins is an all-star. Could be. Now, unfortunately for him, the all-star game oftentimes recognizes stats in order for you to make the team. I know there are exceptions to that, but regardless, let's see, inspired Digi Life Basketball Technology. That's like one of the longest handles I've ever seen for a YouTube user. But regardless, you wrote, two-way Wiggs is back. Wholeheartedly agree. And I want to give him his credit. I want to give him the effusive praise that he deserves. He's for real. He is here. And look, it sucks that for 2 years he went MIA. Okay, that's a good chunk of time. Excuse me for the hydration. But regardless of the reasoning, and regardless of how long it took him to regain his form, he is back, folks. And that is one of the biggest reasons why you should feel optimistic and confident about this Warriors team. Before I get into Wiggins and the night that he had, among many statistical leaders on this team this evening, got to give some love real fast to the official sponsor of Golden Days, and that is Bet Online. And side note, folks, before I continue on, friendly reminder, the sales office of Golden Days is officially open. What that means is that we're going to start getting some additional sponsors on this show soon. The window for that is not limitless, meaning I can't have 10 sponsors and spend 5 minutes to start every show just mentioning every individual sponsor. This is not the Joe Rogan show, and I haven't listened to him in years, but I used to. And I remember at the beginning of every episode of his podcast, he just sit there and just reel off like ad after ad after ad before he'd get the train rolling. That can't happen here. It would destroy the audience would hate it. It would kill the momentum of the show. And the reason why I'm saying all this is because if you want to sponsor this program, just email warriors24pod@gmail.com. Again, warriors24pod@gmail.com. We've got some stuff cooking on the fryer, so I don't even know if I could promise you a sponsorship if you're interested, but get in. Strike while the iron's hot, because this is the fastest growing Warriors program on the planet, and let's make this a mutually beneficial relationship. And this is the love that you're going to get if you sponsor this program, the type of love that I'm going to give Bet Online right now, the world's most trusted betting platform. That's a fact, folks. Science has, through the scientific method, hypothesis presented, experimentation conducted. It is an official fact, theorized and confirmed, empirically proven that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. I'm pretty confident the Warriors did not cover the spread tonight. I forgot what the line was, but that was way too close for comfort. I hope you folks out there won money, regardless of who you bet on, because it was a win-win if you won money, given the Warriors ended up winners in the game. And from the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, MMA, and so much more. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online, the game starts here. And so Andrew Wiggins, how did he do tonight? Let's take a look at his stats. And I thought the first half is where he particularly stuck out. So why don't we start with the first half numbers for Wiggins? He was a force out there. I mean, and again, it is a tremendous mystery how someone like Andrew Wiggins can literally flip a switch and be someone like he was the last 2 years, apathetic, disinterested. But it wasn't just the mental part of it. Physically, he wasn't there. He was getting pushed over routinely. He looked a step slow. The shot wasn't falling. It is mind-blowing to me how someone like Andrew Wiggins can 1 minute look like utter shit out there, and then the very next minute, oh, look, he's an all-star again. Well, regardless, all-star Wiggins is back. In the first half alone, these numbers should blow you away because they're damn impressive. He was 7 of 11 from the field. He was 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, had 1 trip to the free throw line, made them both, which sadly, in this current state that the Warriors are in, that is newsworthy when they're making their free throws. He also had a rebound, whatever, but 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocked shots, no turnovers. He had a 19-point first half, which resulted in the grand scheme of things for the evening. Andrew Wiggins on the night finished the game with, sorry, I just lost a 30-point game for him for the night. Did not have a single 3-point attempt in the second half, which is kind of weird. I don't know why he did not put up any threes, but regardless, finishes the game with 30 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Check this stat out. A perfect 9 of 9 from the free throw line. You got to get a round of applause for that, even if it is a golf clap level. Andrew Wiggins had himself a night in just 28 minutes, 30 points again, 9 of 9 from the free throw line. For you true shooting percentage nerds out there, he probably really killed it there. I don't like that stat that much, but I know they count free throws in there too. So if you love true shooting, Andrew Wiggins particularly had a phenomenal night in that category as well. And as I mentioned earlier, although ESPN is saying he only had 1 block for the game, while my NBA box score is saying he had 2 blocks just in the first half. And I will always defer to the NBA over ESPN. Regardless, he had either 1 block or 2 blocks. ESPN saying 1, the NBA saying 2. But Andrew Wiggins had himself a night. By far the leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors on the evening. He led all scorers, in fact, in this game when you include the New Orleans Pelicans as well. So kudos to Andrew Wiggins for a fantastic game. And yeah, Nato Santo, who has in the chat Wiggs with the greater than symbol all across the board, then JK. They're not in competition with each other, but you're absolutely right. Wiggins right now is the superior player. It's not even close. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Well, the Metal Pig is writing, and again, I don't run with rumors as fact, so I'd love to know what your source is on this. I've never heard this, but it is interesting, and I'll read your chat post regardless. The Metal Pig writing in the chat, quote, heard a rumor that Wiggins was providing bone marrow donations to his father. Hate to speculate, which is why you probably shouldn't, but if it's true, his form drop is understandable. Yeah, absolutely. I just wish we knew what the hell happened, because the on and off is insane. Is insane. But what are you gonna do? I just want to see if there's anything else. No, Nato, shut the F up, man. I do not have any regrets, none, for the criticism that I had on Wiggins the last 2 years, because for the second highest paid player on this team, that was asinine. I do not give him a pass for the MIA he gave this Warriors team for 2 years. 2 years. All right? He's a professional athlete. There is a personal side of all our lives. Then there's a professional side to all our lives. They should not intersect and blend. That includes professional sports. I am not giving him a pass for taking 2 years off, regardless of what was going on in his personal life, man. You got to learn to manage those things. I don't know of any other professional athlete who was affected, if the father thing is the reason why, We don't even know if that is what was the issue here. We don't know anything except for one source told me something, which I'm not going to repeat because people, will get into an uproar that I don't have a second source on an individual that is one of the most private people in the NBA. So I'm not going to say anything more than that, but don't pretend you know shit either, dude. And no, I'm not going to regret it. Hell no. No, I'm sorry if you're okay with people taking 2 years off for personal issues, more power to you. I don't subscribe to that theory. So, take your criticism and shove it up your ass, man. I'm not going to be okay with that. And Nathan J. Show Jr. saying this is a horrible take. What do you mean lack of compassion? What do you want from me? People's parents pass away all the time. Most people don't get 2 years of bereavement leave, all right? Apply some common sense to the situation. We also still don't know if his father's passing, how much it affected him, because again, of how private he is. So look, if you want to be like someone who worships and thinks that professional athletes deserve special treatment, more power to you. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think it's a lack of compassion issue. I just think it is a pragmatic, real world situation issue where, again, most people don't get 2 years off, especially when they're making the type of money that he's making, especially when they have a team that relies on him. And he just took 2 years off. It is not a compassion thing. It's just a reality of the situation thing. His actions severely impacted the Golden State Warriors for 2 years. I'm giving him his due now. I'm literally starting the show off tonight saying he's playing fantastic basketball. I'm not kissing his ass, and I'm sorry if you're not happy about it, all right? So that's that. Anyways, I just want to see what's going on here. Nato Santo, if I'm getting paid $25 million a year, first of all, I make nothing near that, and you're still being a total dick. Here, do me a favor, Nato. Take the night off. And if you want to be a part of this, stop being an asshole, and you could come back. But if you want to make the Wiggins thing some hill you want to die on, go do it outside of the show, dude, because I'm not taking that. So get the hell out of here. Max saying, stop saying you heard info about Wiggins without saying what you heard. DM me if you want to know what I heard. I've left that out there before, and I'll say it again. If you want to know what my trusted source told me, just DM me, and I'll tell you. But I'm not going to go public with it because I don't have a second source at the moment. So, anyways, and then Damian LaRoche writing, let's have compassion for a player who missed 2 years, excuse me, while going to the strip club. And if you were being facetious about that, or I'm sorry, if you were like exaggerating or making that up, Damien, I'd kind of say, slow down, but you're right. He literally was going to the strip club. Anyway, so we'll move on. And Kev F, just remember what you put in the chat is out there. So if you want to put that out there, that's on you. All right. I am not putting that out there. Okay. PW, regardless of whether I said it, where is it? I said it on a live show. I took the show down. It's not out there. So if you want to put it out there, you put it out there. I'm not doing that. All right. Anyways, to finish up on Andrew Wiggins, who had a great night, even though some people apparently can't let go of criticism, which is warranted when you take 2 years off for a job, when most people probably can't even get 2 weeks. People who are making minimum wage out there who probably can't even get 2 weeks off for bereavement. You folks out there want to give special treatment to a man making $30 million a year and let him have 2 years off. More power to you. I don't subscribe to that. Sorry. And PW, if you want to be a dick, take the night off as well, man. All right? Anyways. Here's the thing. PW is saying I put it out there. Where is it? Go find it. You can't because it's not out there. All right? It's not out there. The super chat, Mr. Fox, dropping $4.99, saying, I've been saying that Podziemski is not that guy, and I've been saying to give two-way Wiggins some time. Look at your boy now. You're absolutely right. Podziemski, oh boy. Well, let's just finish up with Wiggins real fast because I want to give him his due. Just he had such a tremendous game. They don't win this game without Andrew Wiggins, period. Okay. And I'd say that's a fairly objective take. But the New Orleans Pelicans, the band of tryhards, who just were not letting up, they would have won this game if not for Wiggins. There was a play, like Stephen Curry, for example. If we want to talk about turnovers for a second here, right? The free throw shooting was not the only thing plaguing the Golden State Warriors. It was also turnovers. And when Stephen Curry is passing like he was tonight, his turnover number will go down substantially. And to give you a case in point here, the Golden State Warriors tonight committed 16 turnovers. That's a pretty high number. It's not the type of number that's going to kill you, but it came damn close. And usually, like the player who's leading the Golden State Warriors in turnovers this season is Stephen Curry. It's part of the package. For all the good he does, he does make some unfortunate turnovers here and there, and that's usually because of passes that are stylish and unnecessary. Well, Stephen Curry tonight did have 4 turnovers, all right? Still had the turnovers, but they didn't cost the Warriors. And he had some passes tonight that were incredible. I wish I could play highlights on this program. I still have no effing clue how any show out there even gets highlights on their show, on their displayed and actually played on their program without having YouTube ban them in terms of advertising revenue. I don't know how they do it because I one time played highlights on this show and got flagged. I had to delete those things out of there immediately. With that said, if I could play highlights, I would play a highlight, 2 of them, in fact, of Stephen Curry making insane passes tonight, which resulted in unbelievable Sports Center level highlight plays. And his passes were sharp. And there was one in particular where Steph's pass was full court. It was like a touchdown throw. It was a Brock Purdy TD pass. And Wiggins was ahead of the competition, caught that thing like old school Jerry Rice, laid it up like a professional basketball player that he is. And I just want to give Wiggins his props for even knowing where to be on the court tonight. There was another play, by the way, that Steph made where he whipped it. And I imagine Steph in his mind, he's completing all of these passes that sometimes result in turnovers. But it was just a perfect pass from across the court, from one side to the other, to Lindy Waters, who hit it. And Steph's passing was incredible. Andrew Wiggins was exemplary. I just want to give him his praise. I want to give him his due because he deserves it. And Mr. Fox, Podziemski, oh boy. I don't know if we're at the point yet where we're going to be talking about him tonight, but two-way Wiggins was enforced. Two-way Wiggins was awesome. And kudos to Andrew Wiggins. I hope the fact that I've dedicated 20 minutes of tonight's show to him appeases those who feel that I do not give Andrew Wiggins his praise when it's due, because tonight it was fantastic. And if anyone wants to join the show, Zach, someone in the chat, Zach Schmelz just asked for it. Hell yeah, dude. When I'm solo, let's absolutely bring people on the program. So the link is now there if anybody wants to join the show. And then, of course, you have Touch of Madness saying, free Jonathan Kaminga. Again, tonight was not the night where you're going to get praise from me. The only thing that makes no sense for Kaminga is, why is he not finishing games? That was working. It was a formula that was resulting in success. And then for some reason, Steve Kerr did not have him in that closing lineup in the Clippers game. And now we're on a 3-game stretch where Kaminga, for whatever reason, is not finishing games. But tonight was a bad night for him, man. And the great Rich Mitchin in the chat who's saying, trade Kaminga. I mean, I brought this up with Rick Barry on the show yesterday because that's the only thing that seems to make sense in terms of what to do with Kaminga. He still has value. Don't let him rot unless the plan is just to keep him long-term. And that is how the Warriors envision it. If that's the case, then they've got a plan and they just don't think Kaminga's ready, but he's in the long-term picture. But if they're like shrugging their shoulders behind the scenes in terms of like what the plan is for Kaminga long-term, trade his ass. Absolutely right. It is a waste to keep him on this roster, man. And I don't want to see his value drop even more. Now, and JJ, who's saying he isn't closing because he was playing like trash. He wasn't playing like trash in the Clippers game. He wasn't playing like trash in any of the 7-8 games before that, all of which they were winning. He did play like trash in the last game, in the Hawks game. Yeah, he didn't play great at all. Well, let me take that back. The first half was actually fantastic. He had an off second half, and then we never saw him again. Tonight was bad, though. Tonight was absolutely bad. We will continue on with the recap and analysis because there was a lot to break down from this game. But when a member of the audience wants to jump in, I got to honor that. Zach Schmells, do I have your name right? How you doing, man?
How's it going, Cy?
All right. How about you?
Pretty good. Living life, you know.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Happy the Warriors won.
How do you feel about this game tonight, man? What were your thoughts?
Well, it was too close for comfort, that's for sure. But
Big time.
I mean, Wiggins pulled through for us. Last couple of games, he's been just like a calming presence on the court. So it's been nice to see. It's been a while, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So what motivated you to come on the show tonight, man? I'm sure you got takes and thoughts. Well, why are you here, brother?
Well, I
wanted
to first start off saying, you know, I've been watching you for a while. I watched, you know, the show that shall not be named.
You can name it. I don't care. Yeah.
But I watched that, you know, back when even Wes Goldberg was doing it.
Yes.
So
were you watching it when Danny LaRue was hosting it?
No. I started with Wes, but I did. You guys brought up Dieter the other day, and that was a total callback. I forgot all about that guy.
Yeah, we're cool now, which is
yeah.
I might actually even bring him on the show at some point, dude. But,
good. Yeah, no, he had some good takes. He was you know, really smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and so yeah, no, I just wanted to finally meet you. It's been, you know, a great ride. You called it in 2022. I was right there with you. Saw it coming all the way.
I felt. Zach, I'm going to cut you off here. I'm not going to like boot you, but I just want to stop you for 1 second, just to let people know about the summer of 2021 and why I felt so good about that team and made the prediction as early as I did and stuck with it. I mean, there were some games that I needed to see in the regular season, and what I'll say right now that I desperately want to see, and I'm already excited for it, is Christmas Day. It's Warriors-Lakers. And the Lakers have been a thorn in the Warriors' side ever since LeBron got there. Well, ever since AD got there, more specifically. And they have not been able to overcome that. We all remember the 2023 conference semis. We remember the 2 play-in games, all of which the Lakers won. They managed to avoid them in the 2022 playoff pursuit. I need to see how the Warriors can handle and deal with a bigger team like the Lakers. But, dude, I'm feeling good about the Warriors this year. Point being, going back to 2021, this is why I made the prediction when I did. 2 reasons primarily. One, and let me know what you think after this. One is I saw the landscape of the NBA. And the landscape of the NBA in 2021 looks an awful like this year, meaning there is no one team out there that has this imposing front court that can overwhelm the Warriors, with the exception being possibly the LA Lakers. And that's why I really want to see that game. But unlike the past 2 years where we saw Jokic win a title, where we saw Joel Embiid win an MVP, and a lot of people thought the Sixers could make a run. We don't have any team in the NBA this year with a center-driven championship pursuit. Like, none of the teams that have elite centers and have elite front courts that are, except for the Cavaliers, and that's something. But I'm very curious to see how that turns out. But the point is, 2021-22 was very similar in terms of an opposition landscape, right? And the second reason why I felt very confident is why the F did so many people just immediately count Stephen Curry and Draymond Green out, and to a greater extent, Klay Thompson. Do people not realize how difficult it is to win just one championship, let alone the 3 that they had accomplished up until that point? You also had Klay Thompson, who you knew was coming back with vengeance, with something to prove. He had the biggest chip on his shoulder imaginable. And I'm looking at the Warriors, and I'm thinking to myself, Stephen Curry still in his prime. He was like 32 at that point. Draymond Green still in his prime. I think he was like 30 at that point.
30, yeah.
Klay Thompson coming back full force. You have a landscape that's smaller. You have people counting out two of the greatest players ever. I thought that was insanity, man. I honestly was surprised more people were not picking him, to be honest, man. I didn't expect to be on an island with Stephen A. Smith that year. But the point being is that was my mentality. And I'm looking at the Warriors this year. They still got Steph in his prime. They still have Draymond in his prime. They are a little bit older. I mean, 32 and 35, 36. That's different, right? Or 33, whatever it was. And so them being slightly older does not give me as much confidence. And again, I got to see how the Warriors handle the Lakers on Christmas Day. That to me is going to be a huge test to see where this team is at. But that's my take on why I made the prediction when I did. Zach, the floor is yours again. Thank you for letting me spiel.
Yeah, no, your first take with the whole like big landscape, like Nikola Jokic the Nuggets are, they're not championship contenders this year. I just don't see it. He doesn't have the depth around him or anything like that. And then you look in East is like pretty. I don't know. They're not very deep over there. When you have Vucevic scoring 30 a night, he's one of the premier bigs this year. Like,
yeah.
And how far can he take you in the playoffs? That's the thing. So it does look a lot similar to 2022.
It does, dude. I like the team reminds me more of 14-15. I just
with the depth, yeah.
Because I feel like 14-15 was even deeper. Like the 2022 team had depth, but Damian Lee, Juan Toscano Anderson. I mean, I could live without those guys. I think they'd be fine.
It doesn't compare to like Leandro Barbosa, Damian Lee.
Well, they had Sean Livingston, Iguodala, Maurice Spates. That 14-15 team had David Lee coming off the bench. That was a deep stack team, dude. And this team reminds me a lot like that, dude, because you got these veterans coming off the bench. Whereas the 2022 team, you did also have Kaminga and Moody, who were rookies then, which is really crazy if you think about that. But anyway, Zach, where in the world are you, dude? Like, where are you joining us from?
Pennsylvania, man. East Coast.
Why? Why are you a Warriors fan? I gotta ask, man.
I don't know. I started college in like 2012. Really got into basketball because my roommate was, really into watching basketball. I'd played my entire life, but didn't watch the NBA, more college. We started watching the Warriors, watched, Steph pretty much grow up in the NBA. Just kind of followed him since then. Been a Warriors fan ever since. A little bandwagoning, I guess, but it's whatever.
It's all good, man. Who cares, dude? If it makes you happy, man. If you're part of the bandwagon, it's the biggest bandwagon on the planet because Steph is literally driving the game's popularity. So, dude, no, there's no shame in that at all. I don't think. What do you think about real fast, dude? Because a lot of people in the chat are talking about Kaminga and saying maybe he should go somewhere else. I'm nowhere near that point. Again, tonight's performance disappointed me. At the same time, it's just hard to build consistency and build your game if you don't have a consistent rhythm, if you're not getting the steady minutes. I guess like my take on the Kaminga thing at this point is if you don't know what you see in him in the future, trade his ass now, dude. Like if you honestly are non-committal about Kaminga long-term, trade his ass now, dude. He's never going to have more value than at this moment. And if you're going to keep him, but you have desires for a long-term future with Kaminga, and you just don't think he's ready at this point, I'm cool with that too. I mean, as long as Kaminga is okay with that, then great. But if you don't know, if you're non-committal to Kaminga, I think you should trade him, man. Zach, what do you think?
I love Kaminga.
Me too.
I'm right there with you. I don't get why they don't coach him up. Like when you send him in the game, tell him what you need from him. Tell him what he needs. Like just give him guidance. That's all that's all the kid needs. Like just nudge him in the direction. And I've seen it. He's willing to do it. But like just tell him, hey, right now in the game, we need you to just attack that rim. Like go for offensive rebounds and then box out. Three things.
I want to say real fast in the chat, the great Rich Mitchin. Okay, I'm not banning you for good, but I'm not going to respect hate speech in the chat. It wasn't directed to me or anyone else, but nothing that could be followed with phobic, nothing that be followed with phobia. Okay, if you have hate speech, don't bring it here, please. Now the gist of your chat question was why do I, according to them, allegedly like Kaminga more than Wiggins? It's not again, I don't know these people personally. The reason why I guess have a bigger leash for Kaminga is because he's never gotten a run. We still don't know what the hell he's going to be. He's super young. So the way you treat him now could form and develop the player he becomes. Andrew Wiggins, a veteran, dude. Like he had what, 7-8 years in Minnesota where he was getting all the run in the world and he was putting up numbers that Kaminga probably would too if he got the same amount of minutes. The point is, you know what you're getting with Wiggins, all right? He's already a set in stone player. Not to mention, Wiggins is the second highest paid player on the team. So with that comes more scrutiny. What comes with that is more pressure, more expectations. Kaminga's making $7-8 million a year. He's one of the lowest paid players on this roster. So if you honestly don't know, that's the best explanation I can give you. They are two very different people. One just turned 22 years old. One still has no idea who he is as an NBA player. We don't know what he's going to be as an NBA player, but he needs to be developed, and we're not seeing that development clearly from the Warriors side of things. Whereas with Wiggins is a grown man who's almost 30 years old, who's getting paid very handsomely, and he took 2 years off. He took 2 years off, man. I don't see Wiggins or Kaminga, just taking 2 years off. So there are clear night and day differences between those two situations. And again, please, no hate speech in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you, Zach. Continue.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I mean, I've never really heard you with Wiggins. Like, it's never been out of hate. Like, it's just
never. None of these guys. I don't hate Curry either. Like, it's just
all deductive reasoning. Just like
I try, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. I try, brother. I try.
You get a little heated sometimes, but like, people are trolls. What can you do?
Well, and we're public, and we're when you're in the public, and like Niners Empire, who like, no, I don't favor Kaminga over Wiggins. It's literally two different scenarios. In one situation, I feel like the guy needs to play. He was a lottery pick for the Warriors, who has never been developed, who we still don't know what the end product is. The other player was practically dead in the water until the Warriors traded for him. Side note, I was the only mofo in the media game advocating for that trade before it even happened. And great, it worked out initially, and then he took 2 years off. They're just two entirely different situations, dude. I don't know why it has to be Wiggins and Kaminga. I don't know why those two have to be compared, dude. I don't understand that. Money Flow is asking, do I think Kaminga's worth $40 million a year? No, but that's not what he was asking for. He was asking for 35. And side note, the Warriors did offer him $30 million a year because they do see that he could become a tremendous player. But at Niners Empire, I do agree that it needs to be more consistent. With that said, young lottery picks should not be trying to prove themselves to get minutes. They need minutes to develop and show the team in the world who they are as players. No individual is going to ever grow and develop and learn and evolve if they're not learning as they're doing, meaning if the teaching is not literally at the practicum that they're practicing. So, anyways, sorry, Zach, I'm sorry to take up all your time.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Anyway, so Zach, let me ask you this real fast, and then we'll move on if you don't mind. Because I personally think a huge litmus test for the Golden State Warriors this season is going to be Christmas Day. Warriors-Lakers. Some people are saying the Lakers are a joke. I don't agree with that at all. And if you look at the standings, just to give some perspective, the Lakers currently are 10-5. There's 2 games behind the Warriors. So they're in the hunt, man. They are a real team. They might not win the title. I mean, maybe I am putting them higher on the pedestal than they should be. But they do worry me a little bit, man. Are you worried about them, Zach? Like, what are your thoughts on the Lakers, man?
I'm always worried about LeBron. He's, Steph Curry's kryptonite in a way, in this era. It's just, they're the burden magic of this era, what can you do? But they do worry me. The other day, I think you were saying they were top 5 in offensive efficiency, or it was offensive or defensive. It was one of the two. So like that's something you got to definitely scout and be aware of. But I don't know. Anthony Davis again, he does it to us too every time.
MVP candidate, dude. Yeah, he's having a hell of a year, dude.
Yep. So yeah, they worry me, but I think we're we're a little deeper, but Steph always comes through for us, right?
Well, dude, I don't know.
Steph. Christmas Day is another thing, though. So,
dude, they were having so Bob Myers was on the pregame panel tonight. It was I think Malik Andrews was hosting. It was Bob Myers, it was Brian Windhorst, and it was Kendrick Perkins. And they were having a discussion about Stephen Curry and where he is in terms of the all-time rankings. And I'm glad they're starting to talk about what it would mean to Steph if he won a 5th championship, because you've heard me talking about that regularly. And that's the one thing I do advocate for, and where my objectivity can get pushed aside just because of how special Steph is. And I'm glad that this is a talking point now nationally, and what they were saying on national television. And it helps that Bob Myers, I think, is there because he's obviously an advocate for Steph, but he's also brilliant. I literally, when he talks, I just stop everything I'm doing to listen. I just love the fact that it's now in public discourse that a 5th championship for Steph would put him in the pantheon of these all-time greats. Like, he would be on the Mount Rushmore, dude. That is incredible. That is insane, dude. This is I know you're in Pennsylvania, but you're a Warriors fan. But for Dub Nation, for us here in the Bay Area, man, to have one of our own be this close to having a legacy of that, where he's unmatched with no one except for Jordan, maybe LeBron, although Steph's ahead of him because of the championships. Like, it's just crazy to me, dude. I get giddy talking about Steph, dude. Any final thoughts, Zach? I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm sorry.
Well, Steph's already there for me anyway. So, but it'd be nice if it was unanimous by a committee. But last thoughts would be, I don't know. JK hasn't been put in very many situations to succeed in rotations. You know, I haven't seen very good spacing out there for him often. You know, he has to create last chance shots, 5 seconds on the shot clock, just here, hoist it kind of thing. So I think the coaching staff needs to do a better job. I think maybe the plan for the future would be, you know, Quentin Post developing finally in the G League, and next year we would see Kaminga in the starting lineup with a stretch big or something, or we trade for Vucevic would be nice, or even I don't know, a Valanciunas. I know he's not as good as a shooter, but
I wouldn't mind having him.
It would open up a little bit more for Kaminga to show what he could really do.
See, and then I hear you, man. And again, folks in the chat, they just don't understand. I literally just said, don't espouse hate speech, and then there comes hate speech. Oh, well, what are you going to do? We got a wild night. It's Friday night. By the way, happy to everyone for getting through the week. Zach, what is your profession, brother? What do you do? What do you do when you're not enjoying watching the Warriors, and thankfully when you're not watching Golden Days?
I deliver tires for a tire warehouse here in
Good
PA.
for you.
Yep.
It's an honest profession, man.
Yep. I drove like, I don't know, 450 miles today, so it was a crazy route.
When I was in college, I had all sorts of jobs, and one of them was working at a gas station. And besides just, you know, pumping gas and you know, selling candy bars in the little mini mart, one of my jobs was repairing tires. And I imagine you can appreciate this, where like you put, like, you know, we would put like that weird sticky stuff with that one like that. It's not a drill, but it kind of looks like a drill with a handle on it. You just push the goop into the tire to fix the
plug
leak.
it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if they still do that, but
get them to the next point, you know, and get them home or get them wherever they need to go. And
exactly. So, anyways, I can't thank you enough for the support, brother. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to promote before we get back to regular programming?
Nothing I want to promote. Just keep doing what you're doing, Cy. Love it. I hope you hit 4Ks next, I guess, huh?
Thank you, brother. Thank
3K,
you.
so yeah.
I mean,
good luck,
the good news is, if you love the show, I hope this is good news for you too. But we're not going anywhere. All I hope is going to happen is growth for the, you know, foreseeable future. And this is, I don't mean, I'm sorry to make this about myself. I'll just say this though. I honestly, man, like a lot of us in life, like we wander, we pursue, we try to we get in where we can fit in, right? And when it comes to professions, we're trying to, you know, do what we love, and we're trying to find what is a perfect fit for each of us. And it took me, I'm 46, it took me until 44, 43, whenever it was, with the last show, for me to finally realize, oh shit, this is what I needed to be doing my whole life. And so I'm not going anywhere, you know, but again, this doesn't happen. This doesn't exist without you or anyone, brother. I mean,
It came out of nowhere when you left Locked On. It was I couldn't find it for like 2-3 weeks. I was worried.
Well, I'm glad you found me, Will. Or Zach, I'm sorry. I'm glad you found me, Zach. Thank you. Where in Pennsylvania are you, by the way?
Like northeastern-ish. Close to the New York
What
border.
does that mean? Like Philly or
No. So Philly's more south.
Okay.
I'm closer to like, yeah, you know the Little League World Series?
Yeah.
It's held in Williamsport. Yep.
Williamsport,
I'm like 30 minutes north of that.
Do you like where you live?
I do mostly because it's by my family. But it would be nice, me and my fiance, we one day wanna live in somewhere a little sunnier.
Okay.
So West Coast has always been talked about.
Well, hit me up if you do come out here, right?
Oh, for sure.
Please do, man. And Zach, thank you, and I hope you're following me on social media. I'll obviously follow you back. I think
you already do.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure.
Perfect,
yeah,
perfect.
I think we said I did that like a couple years ago.
Perfect. Good.
Yep.
Good. Awesome. All right, Zach. Have a great night, brother. Thanks for joining us.
You too.
And go Dubs, man.
If I don't see you, have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Zach. And again, if anyone else wants to join the party, literally, I post the link in the chat. If I forget, people usually try to remind me. Raymond M in the chat. I do not agree that Kaminga's basketball IQ is low. Do not agree with that at all. A low IQ usually is applied to a player that does a lot of dumb things on the court. I don't see Kaminga doing dumb things. What I see is him sometimes taking the foot off the gas unnecessarily. I don't understand why he does that. He needs to just be a 24/7 aggressive machine. Like, my interpretation of Kaminga is he's in his head a lot, but ultimately, if he was getting a consistent 25, 30 minutes a night, I don't think anyone's questioning him. I really don't, man. If he was getting 25, 30 minutes a night, Jonathan Kaminga would be a 20 points per game scorer. He'd be giving you 5 rebounds a game. The dude's a winner. This team wins when he plays a lot of minutes. But as long as you're getting the herky-jerky stuff and as long as he's not getting consistency from his team and his coach, I don't know how he could deliver consistency. But but I digress. And Benjamin Clift, again, who looks like who was contributed just tonight, the $2.99 a month to be a Golden Dazer writing. I love Kaminga, but he definitely needs more time on the court, and I think he will get it very soon. Julian Lika, who's asking about tomorrow's game against the Spurs. We will get to that in just a second. All right, there's still a lot to discuss tonight, and I actually want to check and see if there's any sound that came down immediately following the game, whether it was Coach Kerr, whether it was any of the players. Let me just quickly see if there's any sound to play. No, that is Jaylen Brown. That is not a member of the Warriors. So there's no sound that has come down at this moment, courtesy of the social media stream. That's usually where I get sound immediately after the games. And then a day or so later, I might have to go in there and do some editing myself. But anyways, we will talk about the Spurs in just a moment because that's next up on the docket for the Warriors tomorrow. But I want to talk about, besides Andrew Wiggins just killing it in this game tonight, the team's second leading scorer was Steph Curry. And again, my gist, my vibe, the impression I got from this game tonight is that, and I could be totally wrong, this is just a guess, but the Warriors looked like a team that enjoyed New Orleans last night. They looked like a team that had cocktails. They looked like a team that at 3 a.m., instead of having Jack in the Box tacos, they were eating New Orleans beignets, which, side note, if you never had a New Orleans beignet, when I say a New Orleans beignet, I mean you're actually in the city of New Orleans, and more specifically, Cafe Du Monde makes the best beignets, hands down. If you're in New Orleans and you're grubbing on those beignets and you happen to sneak into a drinking establishment, it can turn 3 a.m. very fast on you. It could turn 9 a.m. with a little hangover very fast. And the Warriors looked like a team that was out there partying last night. So I hope that's all it was. And Stephen Curry was one of those individuals. And I totally agree with you. Zamasu, we trust, writes that Nola has the best food I've ever had. I wholeheartedly agree. I had this meal one time called scallopit, where it was a halibut with slices of scallops on top of the halibut. And it looked just like one piece of fish until you cut into it and you're like, oh, wow, the top half is a scallop. The bottom half is halibut. What the hell is this deliciousness? I'm not even a big seafood person. The point is, the food in NOLA is unbelievable, man. And side note, to me, it's one of the greatest cities in the world. I've watched the Warriors play there in their arena. The great Raymond Ritter, back when I was a professor in the Deep South, took care of me. So my point is, it's very possible that the lack of energy from the Warriors tonight could have been because they were having a little too good of a night in one of the best cities in the world, again, in my opinion. So Stephen Curry, his stat line, first of all, he played 33 minutes, 8 seconds, more than what we're accustomed to with Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry's minutes have gone down this year. Thank goodness, right? For a player who's currently 36 years old, you would like to see his minutes go down. And again, this is part of why the last 2 years, I was critical of Steve Kerr. It was one of many reasons. One of those was Stephen Curry's minute management. Stephen Curry played the most minutes last year in his career since, I believe, 2017. Make that make sense for me. That should not be happening for a player at his age, a player that you want to be fresh when the playoffs start. So what we're seeing this year, though, when it comes to Stephen Curry, is a reduction in minutes. And what I mean by that is Steph has played, I believe, 11 games now in the season. He missed a few early in the year because of that rolled ankle. He's averaging 29.2 minutes per game. Perfect. And that is one of the many positives of depth. You want Stephen Curry to stay fresh for the postseason, which is part of why tonight was a little concerning, because the Pelicans, again, a team full of tryhards, given the amount of injuries they're dealing with. You had individuals on that team like Jeremiah Robinson Earl putting up 19 points tonight. I mean, that dude was the definition of a tryhard. He had 12 rebounds in this game to go with those 19 points. You had folks like Elfrid Payton playing 26 minutes in this game. We haven't seen him in the NBA in years. You had, look, Trey Murphy III is just in general, a fantastic basketball player. So when he was lighting the Warriors up, you understand that part of it, right? You expect that. He's going to be a great player in this league for many years to come. What I personally did not expect was Brandon Boston Jr., a player who was with the Clippers the last 3 years before the Pelicans have rolled the dice on him this season. I didn't expect Bernard Boston to play 34 minutes, 59 seconds. Your box score will likely say 35 minutes, putting up 16 points, dishing out 7 assists. The Pelicans were the try-hard unit tonight, and the Warriors responded with a hangover, and that's what it looked like to me. And Stephen Curry was one of the only individuals out there who the team could rely on for points when they needed them. I mean, the Pelicans kept this game close. So Steph played more minutes than you'd like him to play. 33 minutes, 8 seconds was his run out there, 4 minutes above his season average, 19 points in this game, 7 rebounds in this game, 7 assists in this game, also added a steal and a block. Did have 4 turnovers, but by his standards, the passing was sharp. And this is Steph, man. He only had 19 points in those 33 minutes, but he was efficient for the most part. And it's just unfortunate that the team was as flat as they were on this evening, resulting in Steph having to play those extra few minutes. What is going on in the chat, by the way, man? Jonathan Kaminga has completely invaded the psyche of Dub Nation, at least on this program, because that's all people want to talk about. It's crazy. And Pinoy Reformat writing that you're still waiting for the Kaminga leap. It will come. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I did see somewhere in the chat someone say trade Kaminga for Dante DiVincenzo. Whoever proposed that, you're out of your mind. That is a trade that the Warriors will never do, nor should they ever do that. Regardless, that's just crazy. So I don't know why people are caring so much about Kaminga at the moment, but well, maybe I guess I do, but he's still so young, man. We have no idea what he's going to become on this team as a whole. Draymond Green, if there's anything about him that stuck out tonight, it was the 3-point shot. He was 3 of 4 from beyond the arc. It's dude, the Draymond Green 3-point machine. That is one of the wildest facets of the Warriors, the NBA. Talk about something I had never expected in a million years. Yet here is Draymond. All of his points tonight came from either 3-point shots. He had 2 field goal attempts besides the 3-pointers, and he missed both of those. But his free throw shooting was abysmal. He was only 2 of 6 from the free throw line. The Warriors as a team shot 75.9% from the charity stripe. I'll break down who did good and who didn't in just a moment. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know how it looked on your end when that happened, but I do apologize for that. I live in the woods, and we just had a massive storm hit us, and so we literally the power just fluctuated. I apologize, and so the internet went out as well. Anyways, we're here again. I apologize for the 10-15 minutes. I'm curious to know what it looked like for you folks when that happens. Like, what is the screen? Is it just black? Is a black screen? Okay, I was wondering about that. All right, and Nick Feisty, my dear friend. Side note, folks, Nick Feisty, right there. Actor. He's been in a lot of movies and shows that you may or may not have watched over the years. Nick, what are you doing these days, man? Are we going to see you in anything? Are you retired? Like, you got to give me an update on that. Ranger 49, thank you. Oh, now I got to go mute my TV real fast. Since everything's back on here, we can take a 30-second timeout. Be right back, folks. And welcome back to the program. I am your host, Cyrus Saatsaz. Oh, I didn't want to do that. All right. So, Gamer F2P, we're still talking about Kaminga in the chat. Our deal worldwide thinks Cam Johnson of the Brooklyn Nets is a million times better than Kaminga. I will say this. I think in the present at this point, maybe he is. But Cam Johnson, I believe, is 28. Kaminga just turned 22. And here's the other reason why I am not holding out hope for a Cam Johnson addition to this Warriors team. He played for Steve Kerr in FIBA because Steve Kerr coached the Olympic team in this last summer. And then the year before that, he coached an entirely different team for, I believe, what was called the FIBA Cup, which is like an Olympic sort of qualifying tournament. It occurs a year before the actual Olympics. Cam Johnson was on that team. And by the end of the tournament, he had fallen completely out of favor with the coaching staff. And part of it was there were certain players that just did not fit. Cam was one of them. Brandon Ingram was one of them. And that's why, like, every time Brandon Ingram's name comes up, with the Warriors, I always try to shut that down because he's not a Steve Kerr guy either, even though I think Brandon Ingram would be fantastic on the Warriors. But in any regard, that's why I would not hold out a ton of hope for Cam Johnson joining the Warriors. And again, it's just one of those things where I don't know if the Warriors even want to trade Jonathan Kaminga. Let's see if there's any sound that has come in terms of post game. I would love to hear from Coach Kerr. I'd love to hear from anyone, but apparently, and this is what happens when you're on the road, folks. When the Warriors are on the road, the coverage withers and borderline dies because the team only has, on average, 2, maybe 3 people traveling with them in terms of the reporter pool. There was a game late last year where Sam Gordon, who covers the Golden State Warriors for the San Francisco Chronicle as their beat reporter, was the only person in the room with Kerr. So I kid you not, I'm not making this up. Meaning, so when you see, let's say, like Steve Kerr in a row team's little interview room answering questions from the media after the game, and even though it looks like he's talking to a bunch of people, again, this is a true story. The only person in the room, the only part of the story I can't remember if I'm 100% accurate on is whether or not this was Sam or if it was someone else telling me the story, but it was literally just Steve Kerr and one reporter. And it gets awkward when that happens because you're the only guy asking questions. And Steve Kerr's pretending that, that there's others. He's talking to an audience, like a room full of people when it's just one. Anyway, so that's I'm guessing that's why there's currently no sound available because there's no one traveling with the team to gather it. But I think I was talking about Draymond Green real fast. In terms of how he's done or how he did tonight with the 3-point shooting, which is exemplary. Draymond, this was not his best game, shy of 30 minutes. 48 seconds, more specifically, did grab 8 boards. I thought Trace Jackson Davis played well. I thought he had a good night. Side was man. I want to open this up to the chat real fast. And one more time, I'll put the link just in case anyone else wants to join me, kind of like Zach did a moment ago. For all you Kaminga haters, for example, who feel like they think they're bigger people for using homophobic slurs directed at him or anyone for that matter, why don't you come on the show and be a homophobe? Or why not just come on the show and have an interpersonal discussion with yours truly about why you think Kaminga is a bad player? Let's have that discussion. It's easy to be a keyboard warrior and sit there and type and throw these little digs at people. It's a whole other thing when you actually have to communicate with someone. It's through the key. This is my biggest issue with social media is all the fake courage so many people out there have because they could just type and then just shut the phone off, or type, shut the computer off, or type and then run upstairs and eat your mom's meatloaf. It's easy to be a little coward, to put it politely, when you're typing. It's not easy when you actually have to communicate. So if you really hate Kaminga, the door is open. I posted the link. Otherwise, if all you can do is just type little digs and you cannot substantiate your opinions, your beliefs interpersonally, I guess that's how you feel. That's you. Lindy Waters III, who has been the starting 2 guard for the team ever since DeAnthony Melton went down. Side note, I do feel like the DeAnthony Melton absence is being felt. I know he's only played a handful of games this year, but tonight, the second loss against the Clippers, these were games where DeAnthony could have made a difference. And so his replacement in the starting lineup has been Lindy Waters. And so far, no one's complaining, but I do have to ask you this. When I say you, I mean the entire audience. Are any of you upset about the fact that he scored 0 points tonight in 15 minutes of play? He played 15 minutes, 10 seconds, went 0 for 3 from the field. All right. He was brought in to be a 3-point specialist primarily. They could have used some of that outside shooting tonight. He was 0 for 3 from the field. All 3 of those field goal attempts were 3-point shots. He did have 2 assists, did have a turnover, had 0 points. Now, and again, the question is, do you care? Does that matter? Traveling Urquidez in the chat writing, trade Kaminga. This is awful. And what do you mean? And I'd love to know, Urquidez, if you don't mind, follow up, because you did write, I feel bad for Jonathan Kaminga. But so I'm guessing you're saying trade Kaminga for Kaminga's sake. I mean, the Warriors have to get something back of substantial value. I would advise the folks out there who bring up Miles Turner. There's always this small yet fairly vocal sect of Dub Nation who for years now has been clamoring for Miles Turner. And I don't blame you. I can see why you see him being this incredible fit on the Golden State Warriors. 2 problems with that. One being that Miles Turner is not the type of individual that I at least picture fitting in with Steve Kerr's offense, with the ethos of the Golden State Warriors, which is selflessness, lack of isolation, lack of high usage rates, very high ball movement. And that is not Miles Turner's game. Miles Turner will publicly speak out if he does not get the ball enough. He's done it before. That's your evidence. And then the other part of it is Indiana going to trade him? Because his name has been leaked for years in terms of trade rumors, innuendo. But the Pacers have never given any hints that they actually want to trade Miles Turner. And why would they? He's a 7-footer who plays D and spaces the floor with good 3-point shooting. So anyways, that's your Miles Turner take. Traveling Urquidez writing or adding that Kaminga looks miserable, and I don't think he's getting a fair shake. And that's where you and I are wholeheartedly on the same side. And this is just another point to all the folks out there earlier who seem to want to have a discussion where it's Wiggins versus Kaminga. I don't understand why those two have to be compared with each other. But that's another reason why, in case you hear or watch this show and you feel like I have a bias toward Kaminga, there is your reason. That's another reason. I don't think he's ever gotten a fair shake. Wiggins gets plenty of playing time. Wiggins, for good or bad, is out there playing. And that's where I don't think Kaminga's gotten a fair shake. I will absolutely agree with you there. Let me see if there's anything else in the chat we need to touch. Now, Brandon Podziemski, who has been in the news a lot lately, largely because of his shooting woes. And to give you some perspective on that, the numbers on Brandon Podziemski after tonight's game, just to give you some perspective on just how much he's struggling this year. So last year, he shot 38.5% from three. That's good. It's not, something you write home about. It's not, 38.5 is not, although Klay Thompson thinks it's great, but I wouldn't use the word great for 38.5%. I would use good, and I certainly use passable. 20.8%, which is where his percentage is at this season. And I really fear this is with 13 games played. So I still don't know if that includes tonight's performance, but according to ESPN, what they have right now, he's shooting 20.8% from the 3-point line. And that is unacceptable. Like, that's a percentage where you just should stop shooting threes altogether. Like, the 3-point shot just should not be an option for you unless you're just left wide open and teams are daring you to shoot threes. If that's not the situation and you're shooting 20.8%, stop shooting threes. It is very simple. His field goal percentage last year was 45.4%. 50 is where you would say it's great. 45 for a guard is still good. This year, his field goal percentage is at 36.8%. Not good. Not good. There is no way to spin that. That is a bad shooting percentage from both 3 and 2. So the question, there's a lot of questions. There's like the why of it, right? And we played on the last show a large sound clip from Draymond Green talking about, how it's the media's fault because the media is the one that puts all the pressure on him, and that's total BS. Side note, not to mention Draymond Green, you're now a part of the media. So in essence, you're pointing a finger at yourself by saying that. But regardless, it's not the media's fault. It's Brandon Podziemski is just shooting the ball bad. And if he's having mental issues, even Rick Barry said, go see a shrink, go get some help. He had, I thought, tonight a good game, 3-point shooting notwithstanding. And what I mean by that is Brandon Podziemski from beyond the arc was 0 of 5, which is why I'm wondering if that 3-point percentage reflects tonight's game. I don't think it does. So I'm guessing his 3-point percentage is even lower than the 20.8 I mentioned. 0 for 5 is bad, and those threes were clanking. Like they don't look like any of those shots have touch on them. Like they're looking forced. The rebounds for these missed shots are being grabbed like 25 feet from the basket. Sometimes it's not a good look. But the reason why I was a little encouraged with Brandon Podziemski tonight is because he did go 5 for 11 from the field total, which means that when you take out the 3-pointers, he was 5 of 6. And he was making some clutch baskets near the basket, like meaning these weren't necessarily long-range shots, although one of his buckets I remember being mid-range, and it looked good, went in. But so there's some encouraging things there. He also had one free throw attempt. He's been part of the problem for the Warriors in terms of free throw shooting. And he only had one attempt. It was on a +1. He made it, which is the good news. So he finished with 11 points, double-digit scoring. You want to see that. He grabbed a couple of really tough rebounds, which is part of his game. He grabbed 5 boards on the night total, had 3 assists, played 20 minutes, 52 seconds. I almost feel like him and Kaminga's minutes were like matched up. Like we routinely saw those two out there together. So it's one of those things with Podziemski where, you know, he was a -3 in net rating. And that's always been the stat that you could look at and think to yourself, okay, even regardless of what else he did tonight, at least when he's out there, they're playing winning basketball. But the fact that that is not consistently happening now is, to me, where the biggest concern is, besides the fact that his outside shot's not falling. His defense has been good. I have noticed that he's not getting the charges that he used to get. It is weird that there's a correlation there, but he's not getting those charges. Like tonight, for example, there was one play where I think Trey Murphy III flew into him. Could have been called a charge, but the refs opted to just make it a no call. And I don't know if that has to do with anything, but I do feel like the charges, which Podziemski led the NBA in last year, were a part of his game, were a part of his identity. And the fact that we're not seeing that on top of the poor shooting, it's a little concerning. All right. It's a little concerning. So we shall see. And I guess what I personally would hope for with Podziemski, and this isn't directed at him, more so the coaching staff, is don't play favorites with him. All right. That's the one thing that I would personally plead for, because that is a gripe I do see from a lot of people. And it's a complaint that I do think has a level of validity to it, which is don't apply double standards to your players, meaning don't give Podziemski special treatment. Don't give him some long ass leash and then have completely different treatment for Kaminga or Moody or someone else, right? That just should not be happening. I thankfully am not seeing it, but I can also understand some people saying that they are seeing it, considering that Podziemski in his rookie year last year did get more minutes per game than Kaminga. But the Podziemski thing is kind of crazy in terms of his shot just failing, and it doesn't look good for the Warriors that they held on to him instead of, you know, acquiring a player like Lauri Markkanen. And this Warriors team, I don't even want to go down that road of just picturing how much better they could be with a player like Lauri Markkanen manning the front court. But again, that was Brandon Podziemski's evening. I thought it was a little weird that Kyle Anderson only got 4 minutes, 51 seconds. This is a player who is number one on the team defensively in terms of opposing field goal percentage. And I feel like every time he's out there, good things are happening. Although tonight he had a -8 in net rating, but he's one player. So who knows if he had anything to do with that. But 4 minutes, 51 seconds on a night where the Pelicans were playing him tough. I thought that was peculiar. I don't know if his neck/shoulder injury that's been nagging him had anything to do with that. In terms of turnovers tonight, the Warriors lost that battle. They had 17 total turnovers, 16 individual, and then a team turnover brought that total up to 17, whereas the Pelicans only had 10. And part of that could be blamed on a Warriors defense that I don't think was aggressive as they normally are. And then in terms of rebounding, the Warriors won that battle 52-43. Points in the paint real fast, which is a stat I do like to pay attention to routinely. I think it is indicative of team success in the NBA, and the Warriors have been routinely winning that battle throughout the season, tonight included. They outscored the Pelicans in terms of points in the paint 50-44. So that was some good news there. Gary Payton II got a decent run in terms of minutes tonight. And GP2 is another player that, again, I don't get it. I don't get the minutes. I know Kerr just by default will immediately trust his veterans, GP2 included. But again, there was a play tonight that I thought was indicative of GP2 just not being the same guy. He had this phenomenal steal on Brandon Ingram, and I can't remember if this was third or fourth quarter. It was definitely second half. And he picked Ingram's pocket, but he missed the dunk. And the way he missed that dunk, and I literally replayed it. I went and looked at it like 5 times. He doesn't miss that normally. And part of it was that I saw was it was just a slight decline in athleticism. This is a guy who's 6'2" at best. And the reason why he's a high flyer, the reason why we oftentimes equate him with being someone who plays like a power forward, despite being 6'2", is because of how freakishly athletic he is. But I also do think that a part of the reason why we're seeing a decline in GP2 in terms of his defense and his overall game is he's aging. He's not as young as he used to be. Gary Payton II, his age, just to look it up because I actually don't have that on memory. So Gary Payton II is 31 years old. He turns 32 next week. His birthday is December 1st. So he turns 32. He's had a lot of injuries. So even though he doesn't have a lot of mileage on the tires in terms of playing minutes, he does have a lot of mileage in terms of wear and tear with injuries. And these were serious injuries where he was having surgery routinely on his lower abdomen area to repair an oblique, to repair a torn groin before. And the athleticism is not the same. And that missed dunk was just one example that I saw of an individual who just is on the decline. And it sucks, and I hate saying that. But my whole point is, when you're looking at minute distribution and when you're looking at this team and thinking to yourself, 12-man rotation, how the hell are they doing this? Which is a pretty remarkable achievement to a certain extent until you do hopefully remember that the 14-15 Warriors were going 12 deep regularly. And then the 21-22 Warriors were also going pretty deep regularly. But GP2 getting 16 minutes, 12 seconds in this game. And again, this is just, some nights, he'll get like 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and it reflects him just not doing much out there, being almost a liability offensively. If you're looking for minutes for other people, that's where I keep going to is GP2. Like Moses Moody, for example, 19 minutes, 35 seconds, which by his standards is good. That's higher than what we're normally seeing with him. But if any of you out there are clamoring for more Moody minutes, or if you're looking at Kyle Anderson again, going 4 minutes, 51 seconds, that's where you get those minutes is GP2. I just don't know if he should be getting those minutes late in the game. So, oh man, there's just and Metal Pig in the chat writing that GP2 is the same as Melton. They both have bow legs. They're overdoing it in the gym. It's no surprise they're both injury prone. That is fascinating. That's a good take. I like that. In Zamasu, we trust writing. He's the same age as Ant-Man, who's getting all the minutes. Are you talking about Kaminga? That's a whole different debate. I know the chat is on fire right now. I will let you be with that. And Julian, I promise, we'll talk about the Spurs in just a minute to wrap up the show. And let's see again. And Jaybird, I'm not going to highlight that chat because, again, I don't know what the point would be of addressing something like that. For the upteenth time, there is nothing I have said or done about Andrew Wiggins that is quote unquote out there. So for any of you to bring this stuff up right now, if your concern is in any way Andrew Wiggins' image, if you actually care about Wiggins, you bringing it up is doing more damage than anything I could have ever done. Again, because nothing I said or did is out there for very good reason. And no, I did not specifically say that. So anyways, is there anyone else who played tonight that I should have addressed before we move on? I thought Kevon Looney had a fantastic game. The box score will not reflect that, but he was getting some really tough rebounds. And the rebounding total reflects that. He played 14 minutes, 10 seconds in this game, grabbed 7 boards, added 4 points, was a +3 net rating. I want to give a quick shout out to Buddy Hield, who by his standards, not the greatest of nights, 12 points in this game for the team's second leading scorer, 2 of 7 from beyond the arc, which is low by his standards. But those 2 threes, they were both very timely. And just what he does on the court in terms of spacing it is huge. The Warriors as a collective in terms of 3-point shooting were good, not great tonight. As a team, they were 12 of 37, good for 32.4%. Again, that's not even good. That's just okay at best. That's more along the lines of average. In terms of free throw shooting, the Warriors, this stat may or may not trip you out, but it's true. They are last in the NBA in free throw shooting, dead last. And tonight, and this is just one of many reasons why I dedicated almost the first 30 minutes of the show to Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins was 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Draymond Green, 2 of 6 from the charity stripe. So 33% from the free throw line, definitely no bueno. Trace Jackson Davis, 1 of 2. That's not good either. That's only 50%. Stephen Curry, a perfect 3 of 3. No surprise there. Buddy Hield was 4 of 4. He is one of a very few players on this team who is excelling from the charity stripe. Kaminga was 1 of 2, missed the first free throw attempt that he put up, made the second. Podziemski, 1 of 1. Kyle Anderson had 1 free throw attempt, and he missed that. And Moses Moody had 1 free throw attempt, and he made that. Moody, by the way, finishing tonight with just 3 points in 19 minutes, 35 seconds, though I thought his defense was exemplary. The dude has a massive wingspan, and it reflects out there. Let's see if there's anything else in the chat that I want to get to real fast. Yeah, Touch of Madness. I know there's just trolls out here tonight, and that's okay. Anyways, I know you like me, LA Die, Lottie. I know you like me, Lottie. Whatever your handle is, I apologize for not getting it. What was Rick Barry upset about? I'm curious. If you don't mind following up on that. A Touch of Madness asking, if you don't start Lindy Waters the third, who again had 0 points tonight, who are you starting? That is a great question. I honestly I don't mind Lindy continuing to start. I like it for this reason. He's 6'6". He gives you size and length, and you do need that from your 2 guard. You do need a lot of physicality and size alongside Stephen Curry. The one thing about DeAnthony Melton I did not like is the fact that they were going to put another 6'3" guy out there alongside Steph. It worked, though, because DeAnthony Melton is a two-way player who is exemplary defensively until his body broke down, and now he's out for the year. So I'm actually cool with Lindy Waters starting. Now, Muhammad Alavi in the chat writes, start Moody. That's probably where I'd go. That's probably who I would say as well if it's not going to be Lindy Waters. But even on a night like this where he scored 0 points, I'm cool with Lindy starting. I don't think that's a concern. But it would be nice if he actually made his shots. Now, moving ahead. Now, Julian Leka, or Julian Leka in the chat, writing, what do we expect from the Warriors and the Spurs tomorrow night? The Warriors are playing the second half of a back-to-back tomorrow. And I want to go to Bet Online, the official sponsor of the Golden Days. I'm sorry for my puppy making some noise in the background. I don't know what Bubba's barking at. Something's riled him up. But courtesy of Bet Online, I want to check and see real fast if there is a line for tomorrow night's Warriors Spurs game. Let me just go there really quickly. I don't know if they would have that posted yet, and they don't. So sorry about that. There is no line currently set for the Warriors and the San Antonio Spurs. I would guess the Warriors would be small favorites in that game, maybe like 2-point, 3-point favorites. But let's do a preview of the San Antonio Spurs, who the Golden State Warriors will play again tomorrow. Saturday afternoon, maybe early evening affair, tip-off, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. The odds makers in general are giving, again, BetOnline doesn't have a line yet, so this is off ESPN. They're saying the Warriors are favored by 42. They're favored by 4.5 is the line. So Warriors favored by 4.5. The San Antonio Spurs, are currently 8-8, a 500 record. And when you look at their team, I mean, they have Chris Paul, obviously, right? He was on the Warriors last year, and things seem to be going okay with that matchup so far. Chris Paul in the season averaging 10.8 points per game, 8.6 assists per game. On the season, he's playing 28.6 minutes per game for the Spurs. At the age of 39, he's pushing 40. That is incredible. We're going to see Harrison Barnes again. Harrison Barnes is back with the San Antonio Spurs. When I did the net rating show last week, I don't know if you folks remember that or if you even watched it, but and I'll do another one of these. I'll do like 4 or 5 of those throughout the season. And in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, the net rating show is an episode that I dedicate strictly to lineups and to a certain extent individuals, but more specifically lineups on the Warriors and around the NBA that work, that are effective, and lineups that are absolutely garbage. I was shocked to learn that the number one lineup in the NBA right now is on the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs lineup of Chris Paul, who were the five? It was a weird 5-man lineup. I know it was Chris Paul, it was Champagnie, it was Harrison Barnes, it was Victor Wembanyama, and I can't remember if the fifth player was Devin Vassell or Stephen Castle. It might have been Castle, actually. The point is, that 5-man unit, I think it was actually Stephen Castle, that 5-man unit had the best net rating in the entire NBA. Like the Warriors' best lineup was 5th. And side note, that lineup that was 5th, in case you folks are interested, the Warriors' best 5-man lineup was, and you shouldn't be surprised by this, and this especially goes for all of you Kaminga haters: Stephen Curry, DeAnthony Melton, rest in peace, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kaminga, Draymond Green. And a lot changes in a week and change, but a week and change ago, that was the Warriors' best 5-man lineup. That 5-man lineup was the 5th best in the entire NBA. So, oh, dude, come on, our dealer. Come on, man. Come on, man. That is some crass language right there. So anyways, so the Spurs, that lineup is first. And that is who the Warriors are going to play. Now, what I've been hearing about the Spurs in terms of criticism this season is that they've oftentimes been failing to take advantage of Victor Wembanyama's size. Like he's oftentimes lurking in the perimeter. He's not posting up. And you'd think someone who's like 7'4", 7'5", whatever that Manster's height is. And in case you forgot, folks, a Manster is a half man, half monster. They are very real. Be careful of them. They're sketchy, and Victor Wembanyama is one of them. You would think that the Spurs would be taking advantage of his size and playing him down low, but he's apparently loitering around the perimeter, which is wild for a guy his size. But if that's what Victor Wembanyama does in that game tomorrow, yay! Because that's exactly what the Warriors want him to do. Harrison Barnes routinely plays well against his former team, the Golden State Warriors. And again, Barnes, part of the number one 5-man unit in the NBA for net rating, which is just absolutely incredible in and of itself. But that is who the Warriors are facing tomorrow. Again, ESPN is currently placing the line at 4.5 in favor of the Golden State Warriors, and I agree that they should be favorites. But the Spurs can be a little dangerous. We shall find out how that goes. Let me see if there's anyone in the chat. I love how people are still just going back and forth about Jonathan Kaminga. Gamer F2P in the chat is saying that the Houston Rockets look dangerous. You're damn right, dude. Which makes that win over them in Houston all the more impressive. And don't forget who the star player was on that team. And I'm seeing a couple people say that Victor Wembanyama is out for tomorrow's game, which I did not see. But now you've got me curious, and considering we won't have a show again until tomorrow, let me double check. Yeah, Victor Wembanyama. Let's see here. Victor Wembanyama, 5 hours ago, it was reported by Paul Garcia of ProjectSpurs.com that Wembanyama is listed as questionable for tomorrow's game against the Warriors. Now, if I check the NBA injury report real fast, which is available for the public, all you got to do is Google NBA injury report, and it should be one of the first links that comes up. And again, it's public. Anyone can look at it anytime they want. So the latest injury report when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs So Stephen Curry is listed as available. DeAnthony Melton listed as out. But I think that was for tonight's game, I think. Let's see if the Spurs are on here. The San Antonio Spurs injury report. Still scrolling. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this was last updated at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. Victor Wembanyama questionable with a right knee contusion. Contusion, a fancy word for bruise. So I don't think anything is official yet. For the folks saying that he's out, I'm very curious what your source is, because he's currently listed as questionable. So we shall see. But yeah, I would lean towards the Spurs being the favorites in that one. We also let's hope that Greg Popovich is okay. I know he's in recovery after suffering a stroke. Very unfortunate there. And I guess that's it. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? I guess not. All right. One last thing before we wrap up the show tonight. A show that included a power outage, a show that included a bunch of trolls. There's a certain section of the population out there that is obsessed with the fact that I reported on what had been ailing Andrew Wiggins, and then I immediately took down that report, but people just can't let that go, and that's okay. Just a reminder to all the dipshits out there that can't let that go. You don't know what the hell is going on with Wiggins or was going on with Wiggins either. You have no clue. So nice try with your hatred. Ricky XTS writes, do you believe Wiggins now? Believe what? What am I supposed to believe? Can you add to that? Zach, really nice to meet you, brother. Really nice to meet you. One last thing before we go. We got to do a scoreboard check. That is a tradition on this program, and I save it for the very end of the show just in case you folks have to run and do something else. But if you want to stick around, let's go through the rest of the NBA. Let me see if there's anything else in the chat real fast. Ricky XTS meant, do I believe in Wiggins now? The belief is back. Yes. I mean, look, I don't know how you could witness what his unreliability, his inconsistency the last 2 years. I don't know how you could not be skeptical after that, but this is a damn good-looking Andrew Wiggins. If I was a homosexual man, I'd be crushing on him right now. I am straight, so there's nothing sexual in any of that, but I do sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, love the Andrew Wiggins I'm seeing right now. Dude's back, and that's one of the many reasons why I don't for a second pretend that this team is not a contender. They're legit. They're the number one team in the Western Conference. Let's go to the scoreboard now. Let's see what's going on in the chat or across the NBA on a busy night. Earlier today, the Houston Rockets improved to 12-5 after thumping the Portland Trailblazers 116-88. I saw some fun, jovial shit talking on social media regarding, and I'm reminded of that because of the Trailblazers and more specifically their point guard named Scoot Henderson, because a certain man named Bill Simmons out there, I believe, was calling Scoot Henderson the next great thing, saying that it is a quote unquote fact that he's going to be better than Brandon Miller ever will. He's going to be better than LaMelo Ball ever will. And Scoot Henderson, now well into year 2, is not delivering. Scoot Henderson tonight, just to give you some perspective in terms of how poorly he's been playing and how poorly he played tonight, for the second-year guard who was taken number 2 in the NBA draft, right before Brandon Miller, who was taken 3rd by the Hornets and seems to be playing a hell of a lot better. Scoot Henderson, he didn't even play. Oh, I'm sorry, he's hurt. Okay, he had a left quad contusion, so he did not even play in that game. That was, the Trailblazers are probably not happy about the fact that Scoot Henderson is a disappointment. But the Houston Rockets, 116-88 winners. Dylan Brooks, 28 points, 6 rebounds in this game. for the Houston Rockets, who again are now 12-5. I'll go through the standings to wrap up the show in just a minute. The Chicago Bulls, who have been surprising a lot of people this year, and the fact that they're 7-10 after tonight's win, and I'm still saying they're surprising people, it shows how low they were, and they're not really serious. But in the Eastern Conference, which is so freaking pathetic, the fact that they're 7-10 means they're probably a playoff team. 136-122 winners tonight. Josh Giddey, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Jalen Johnson for the Hawks, 25 points, 13 rebounds in the loss. The Bulls now 7-10. The Hawks drop to 7-10. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Indiana Pacers tonight, 129-117. Giannis Antetokounmpo is still a beast, folks. Still one of the best players in the NBA. 37 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists in the win for the Bucks. Pascal Siakam, 25 points, 8 rebounds in the loss for the Pacers. Milwaukee improves to 7-9. The Pacers drop to 6-10. And it does make me wonder what has happened to Tyrese Halliburton, the player that a lot of people, myself included, thought was going to be the next great thing. Not so much right now. And Raymond Verona in the chat saying that the Milwaukee Bucks are now a 6 seed. It goes to show how pathetic, again, the Eastern Conference is. And unfortunately, for anyone who has been clamoring for Giannis to the Warriors, it looks like those discussions, it looks like the Bucks are going to be just good enough to placate that kind of talk, and Giannis will probably be just content enough with this season for the Bucks. The Bucks are not going to do a damn thing, but they're actually winning games now, and they seem to be doing okay. Going across the scoreboard, the Boston Celtics defeated the Washington Wizards 108-96. Jaylen Brown, 31 points, 11 rebounds in the win for Boston, who improves to 13-3. The Wizards dropped to 2-12. Jordan Poole had 23 points, 8 assists in the loss. The Philadelphia 76ers won their 3rd game of the season. So congrats to them. 113-98 winners over the Brooklyn Nets. Tyrese Maxey back after missing some games due to injury. He had 26 points and 4 steals in the win. Cam Johnson, a player some folks were talking about earlier, potentially maybe being a Warriors trade target, had 37 points in the loss. The Sixers now 3-12. The Brooklyn Nets drop into 6-10. And 2 games going on right now. In the 3rd quarter, the LA Clippers, who, yes, folks, are real. They're a good team. There is a reason that they're 2-0 against the Warriors this year. 65-53 lead, on the Sacramento Kings. Currently, that game is in Inglewood at Intuit. James Harden currently has 17 points, 3 steals. Domantas Sabonis, 13 points, 12 rebounds in a game that the Kings trail 65-54. And lastly, the Dallas Mavericks holding on to a 99-95 lead over the Denver Nuggets in a game that is featuring Nikola Jokic coming back. He missed a handful of games, like 4 or 5 of them, celebrating the birth of a child. Jokic right now, just to give you an idea of just how much he's dominating, there's still 8:47 remaining in that game. He currently has 28 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. Marshall for the Mavericks with 24 points. And Klay Thompson, just for those curious how he's doing in this game, Klay has played 19. Oh my God. So Klay Thompson has played 19 minutes so far, 0 of 8 from the field, 0 of 4 from beyond the arc, no free throw attempts, 0 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for Klay Thompson. And just to add to the perplexity of all that, despite Klay having an absolutely anemic performance, shooting-wise, he is a plus 17 in net rating, which is easily leading the Mavericks in a game where they lead now by just 2. It is now 99-97. Klay Thompson playing winning basketball despite being 0 for 4 from deep and 0 for 8 from the field. Make that make sense. I have no idea what's going on in the chat. There was a lot of back and forth. What a crazy night. But look, as long as you folks were entertained, that's all that matters. That really is, honest to God. I wanted to also quickly mention there's some talk, some chatter about the NBA possibly eliminating conferences. This was reported by Brian Windhorst in a column that he wrote for ESPN. They then talked about it a little bit earlier today on some of the ESPN shows. But the reality of the situation is that for that change to become a reality, you need to have 23 of 30 NBA owners vote to approve that change. So what that means is chances are you'll get the Western Conference teams happily going along with that rule change, because I'm pretty sure the Warriors want to play Eastern Conference teams more. It equals an easier schedule, equals a better record. The problem is most of the Eastern Conference teams probably don't want that change. So you would need to have the majority of the Eastern Conference teams, 8 of the 15, approve that change, and you're probably not going to get the votes. Again, because if you're an Eastern Conference team, let's say you're the Charlotte Hornets, do you want to play these Western Conference teams more and have your record be even worse than it is? That would be the reality of it. And so they're probably not going to support a change like that. So, and BC, you're absolutely right that the West has been superior since Michael Jordan retired. I remember the West being superior even when Jordan played. It's just that the Bulls were the best team. But the East, I mean, he'd usually have just a cakewalk, at least until the Eastern Conference Finals. And then maybe he'd play a decent team then. But yeah, the West has been supreme for decades. I mean, I think back to like the 80s before there was some sort of balance. Oh, and Young West 79 bringing up another topic. I'm glad you did this so I can talk about it for a second. That a potential new format for the All-Star game, which is yet to be approved. But if it goes ahead as scheduled, I like this a lot. The All-Star game will likely now have 4 teams. There'll be 4 teams of 8. And you're going to have 3 teams of All-Stars, right? So you'll still be selecting 24 All-Stars, 12 from each conference. The last team, and you're going to split those 24 up into 3 teams. The 4th team will be the winner of the rookie-sophomore game. And a huge reason why I love this idea is because whoever wins that rookie-sophomore game, they are not going to be taking it lightly when they play in the All-Star version. So meaning whoever they play, they're going to try to beat them. And what the All-Star game has lacked for a long time is competition, is people actually playing defense, people actually trying to win. And you're going to get that now. You're going to get that for at least one of the games. No, BC is saying that's BS. 15 Western teams plus 1 East is a majority. If you're talking again about the rule changes, the way the NBA is set up for major changes like eliminating conferences, you would need 23 of the 30 teams to approve it. It is not a simple majority. That is why I brought up the fact that you would also need 8 Eastern Conference teams to go along with it. And I don't know if you can do that. Muhammad Olavi in the chat. Yes, Pinoy, still live. We're wrapping it up right now. Muhammad Olavi in the chat asking, bring Seattle and Vegas to the league and then shift the T-Wolves over to the East. I'm glad you brought that up too, because when expansion, hopefully, and who knows when it's going to happen, some chatter is saying 2028 is when we'll see these new teams, most likely Seattle and Vegas being the 2 markets. I personally wish they would expand by 4 teams. The league needs it. There's plenty of talent for it. You get 4 more markets coming into the NBA. That means 4 times 4 markets and all those viewers you're also getting to the NBA. That's instead of 2 cities, 2 markets being added to the total audience. You'd be adding 4, but 2's better than none. Anyways, but if that happens and Seattle and Vegas are the 2 teams, you'd likely have to move one of 3 teams from the West to the East. And those 3 teams are the Timberwolves you mentioned, or the Pelicans, who the Warriors just played tonight, or the Memphis Grizzlies. I would lean Memphis. Memphis, to me, does not feel like the West at all. Like although I guess you could make the same argument for New Orleans. Minnesota feels like a Western team to me. I don't know. This is all very subjective, but BC adding San Diego or Kansas City should get teams first. San Diego will never get a team. And the reason why is because they've had teams, and there is just not enough fan interest in San Diego. I lived in San Diego, or at least the county, for 4 years. I lived in Encinitas. And I can tell you this about San Diego sports fans. They don't exist. The only team they show up for are the Padres, and that's because you can day drink and party before, during, and after. Otherwise, people in San Diego care about two things: the weather and themselves. It is not a market for sports. There's a reason why the Chargers left. There's a reason why all those San Diego pro teams left. If you're very curious about the San Diego history of professional sports, Google just that. Google history of San Diego professional basketball, and you'll see a two-part story I wrote some years ago about everything that went down there. Will Chamberlain head coaching the San Diego Conquistadors, the San Diego Clippers, which became the LA Clippers, the San Diego Rockets, which became the Houston Rockets, the Golden State Warriors called San Diego home for 1 year. True story. Definitely recommend checking that out. But San Diego is not going to get another pro team ever again. Touch of Madness is asking, what is the main reason why the West is better? That's a great question. I've actually thought about that a lot myself. I think a huge part of it is just it has a bigger lure when it comes to free agency, right? LA at the pinnacle of that. And the why of that could be weather. There's just always been a draw for the West in terms of migration and population movements. But Western teams have been better at luring free agents. And then you just have a lot of teams in the East that are very incompetent in terms of front offices, whether it's been the Hornets / Bobcats, whether it's been the Atlanta Hawks, whether it's been the New York Knicks. Way more incompetency on that side of the country. But that's a good question. We can almost dedicate an entire show for that. Look at you, SG Sports Talk. Thank you. Official member. You're now a Golden Dazer. Welcome to the party. Glad you signed up. Your chat comments will now be featured. You have my attention, sir or miss. An SG Sports Talk channel. See, now your comments highlighted, and I see all that. You're writing that the Clippers now lead the Sacramento Kings 71-58. Good stuff. Welcome to the party. Thank you. And again, I will happily come on your show. Just tell me when, and make sure it's not post game because I'm busy during that time. Otherwise, I think that's it. Anything else in the chat that I think we should mention? Oh, and BC adding that SG Sports Talk channel is Chardal. He likes coming on stream. Well, regardless, Chardal, welcome. Glad to have you. BC adding maybe there's less nepotism in management in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, maybe there's a confluence of reasons, but let's end the show on this note. I'm looking at the standings right now, and I don't know about you. I did not expect on November 22nd of 2024 to see the Golden State Warriors in first place in the Western Conference. I didn't expect to see the Warriors with the second best record in the NBA, although I also didn't expect to see the Cleveland Cavaliers with the best record, but I digress. The point is, the Golden State Warriors are now 12-3 with a winning percentage of .800. What that means is they've won literally 80% of their games so far. We're 15 games into the season. All right. So that means like we're about almost a fifth of the way through the grind. And the Warriors are alone in first place. 5-1 at home, 7-2 on the road. Interestingly enough, their division record right now is 0-2. They've only played two divisional opponents so far, both those being against the Clippers, who annoyingly, thanks largely to Norman Powell just having lights out shooting performances, the Warriors got to solve that one. But regardless, they have a differential of +10. Good for second in the Western Conference. Good for third in the NBA overall. They've won 8 of their last 10. This is a damn good team. And they continue this tomorrow. Oh, SGA Sports Talk adding Am I a professor at San Jose State University? Yeah, I am. I used to teach 2 classes there. I currently teach 1 because no one's going to college anymore. This is a major crisis no one is talking about. I don't know why no one's talking about it, but enrollment in higher education is down everywhere. If it's a STEM type program, we're talking, like business or engineering, they're doing okay. Their numbers have taken a dip as well. But if it's a major in the humanities, whether you're talking English, history, any arts, journalism, no one's going to school anymore. It's very sad. So I'm still teaching 1 class there, though. Why do you ask? Oh, SG, you're funny. Yes, I am a professor, though, just to answer your question. And the Golden State Warriors have clinched a home game in the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. So good for them in that regard. Yeah, and BC, you do have a point. This is in terms of the college thing, and this is why I personally advocate for free higher education. Save our society. I mean, if you want a civilized society, you need to have an educated society, and that is a problem in this world. Oh, I see. So, Shardal, you are an SJSU alum. Good stuff. All right. Do me a favor, if anyone out there ever wants me to be a guest on your show, just shoot me an email. And that email address again is right here. It's warriors24pod@gmail.com. I'll say it again especially for the podcast audience, warriors24pod@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. I'll happily be a guest on your program. Otherwise, we're done. Damn near 2 hours. That's what happens when you have a Friday night party. The extravaganza is real. And we're back at this tomorrow. Less than 24 hours away. Warriors, Spurs postgame. Thank you, everyone. Congrats, Shardal, for graduating from San Jose State. Good stuff. Oh, and last thing, in regards to the NBA Cup, which the Warriors are currently dominating, starting next year, and this message is for the NBA marketing department, stop with the whole Group A, Group B, Group C crap. Make it divisional, meaning why is the Warriors group New Orleans and Denver and Dallas and Memphis? Why is it not the Pacific Division? Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. It's especially when it comes to marketing. Make it simpler and easier for the people so they can appreciate the NBA Cup more. Make it a divisional thing. Anyways, keep the winning ways, just like Ramar Hernandez. Shardal, email me Sunday the 24th at 6 p.m. should be fine, but email me. Let's confirm it that way. Pinoy format saying go Warriors, F yeah. And for everyone else, hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining me as always. They're winning, baby. There's a lot to talk about, which makes things interesting, but the bottom line is they are winning. And Shardal, thank you. All you can do in this world is try to be a good person. My parents did raise me right in that regard, so I thank them forever for that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do mean. I'll always take kind words and embrace it, because I don't think there's ever enough good things that happen in this world. I don't think there can be. So, anyways, thank you again, everyone. We'll be back at this soon tomorrow, more specifically. Bye bye.